Good morning and welcome to Mallory Park. We're here for what is essentially the final race in the 750 Motor Club calendar before the traditional Burkitt Relay at Silverstone. It's a real clubman's atmosphere here today. We've got 750 Formula, 750 Formula Historics, and we also have Formula V's, classic stock hatch which are out on track now, and we've also got sport specials as well. So Mark Glover was here in his newly bodied race kits Falcon, and David Watts continued his return in his Centaur Mark 16R. Chris Goff was also here in the CGR2 Evo, his very purple spaceship, and Richard Jenkins was here in his Shepherd, which has now been converted to transaxle, and his sister car is currently being built by Richard Dixon. Here's Bill Smith with his continuously improving Transverse SZT Mark 1, and Team SB of Steve Boother and Simon Bolter in their matching Derbies. Bill Cowley in his handsome Cowley Mark 4, built by his grandfather, and Jack Doherty continues his impressive debut season in the SSF 750. Bill Rutter was here in his Transverse Baton 3. Ollie Collett was hoping to improve on his previous wins in his carbon-bodied race kits Falcon. Chris Johnson also here in his traditionally bodied Falcon, and this season Richard Rothery has been on driving duty in the PRS 1B and he's starting to knock on the door of outright wins. Rod Hill in his Mystic T421 back to original nose cone spec, and Peter Bove, who's already wrapped up the championship in his Derby 88P, so the real interest was in the Class B championship. So Simon, you're in the running for Class B. It's fair to say that you're not in the running, you're probably going to win it.
Well, all I need to do is finish is the simple answer. So I'm not going to push myself to battle it out in the corner for somebody. If they want to go, they can go. We've got Matt, Jake and Hugh, the top, all four of us have a calculated chance of winning. I have to finish.
We're here with Matt Unwin, one of the other runners in Class B. I know that Simon's got a bit of a lead on everyone. Do you fancy your chances at all?
Yeah, well, I'll give it my best shot, but we'll see. I think he's quite a bit ahead.
How's the car running? I know you had a few gearbox issues earlier in the year. Is it all sweet as on that now?
Well, I had an engine problem in the first race at Silverstone. Changed the engine, then I had a cylinder head problem at Snetterton, then a gearbox problem at Silverstone. So I'm actually quite pleased. I'm still second at this stage.
Good morning, Hugh. We're here with Hugh Davis. You're also in the running for Class B.
Maybe if Matthew has an issue, I can capitalise on that. Yeah, what I have going for me is a brand new set of tyres. Plus just a wheel to get round every corner flat out.
It was also a welcome return for Dan Welsh in his brand spanking new Transverse WR1. Well, Dan, it's great to see you here finally on the grid. I know you had a few issues building your car with the frame getting lost and things like that. That's right, but I'm glad to see you're here. Can you tell us anything about this car?
Well, obviously Transverse engine across the back again, and we've had 4 outings and we've had 2 laps per outing. We've had brake issues, electrical issues and 2 head gaskets on separate occasions. So hopefully we're going to get through qualifying and maybe get a race today.
Hello Conway, so you're driving another car this season. Have you driven this car yet?
Only around the paddock at Cadwell. This will be the first time over 5 miles an hour.
So what are your goals for this race meeting?
To make sure that I'm happy with it, have a bit of fun and feedback for Tony for development.
We also got the chance to catch up with some of the historic racers. Here's John Ingram in his Arthur Mark II. Morning John, you're just about to go out in your car. How are you feeling today?
Oh, quite confident. Done 150 laps on the sim, so I ought to be able to get around okay.
So what lap times were you doing on the sim and what are you expecting to do today?
Best was 59, but in reality if I can do a 102 I'll be a happy bunny.
Paul Mason was present in his self-designed Whippet H750F. So you're normally in the 750 Formula, but today you're in the Historics?
Today, that's right, the Historics today. With a car which I built at the end of 2019. It's got a Reliant 850 engine in it with the mandated standard, mandated camshaft and a BMC back axle which is midget one side and Morris Minor on the other to offset it. Spitfire uprights with the Girling Type 14 discs brakes on it.
Amongst the historic 750 Formula runners and riders, Clive Neal was here with his Jeffrey, Ian Grant with his race kits Merlin. Charlie Plain Jones was here in his rather fetching Austin 7 Cowley Special, and John Village was here in his Village V2. Graham Wilson's Time TB, previously driven by Simon Bolter, and Thomas Emden in his Austin 7 Sportsman, Michael Pickup in his Austin 7 Ulster replica, and Ernie Frost's Hague was for sale, but rumour has it by the end of the meeting it had already found a buyer. Tim Mile was here in his Austin Pigsty Mark 13, as was Charles Cooling in his DMC Mark 3, and Matthew Edwards in his Austin 7 Rag, once he'd finally passed the sound check, was out on track as well. Newsflash, in the time it takes to evolve from a gibbon to a man, you could also receive your very own copy of Racecar Engineering, inside of which you'll find all sorts of technical information on the 750 formula. Get your copy now from the link in the description. So starting off with the historic 750 formula, John Village in his Village V2, he's already got a really good lead on the Time TB, being driven by Graham Wilson. Charles Cooling in his DMC Mark III, and John Ingram as well, going well in his Arthur Mark II. And there's Tim Mayle in his Austin Pigsty. And the freshly silenced Matthew Edwards in his Austin 7 Rag. And that's Paul Mason. Seems to be a little bit of oil leaking out the back of that car. And we got a lock up there from Nick Hayward Cook in his Austin 7. And Charles Cooling in his DMC Mark III having a spin as well. Another lock up there from 99, David Lewis in his Austin 7 Special. And look at the Austin 7 Cowley Special driven by Charlie Plain Jones. And that looks like Paul Mason. It looks like the engine is finally giving up and he's pulling off, and that looks like that'll be the end of racing for him today. And that's how it ended, with John Village taking the win from Timothy Sage in his Mallock U2 and Graham Wilson following behind in his Time 3B, and John Ingram did finally get down to 1 minute and 2 seconds, which was his target time. Let's check out the first race from the 750 Formula with Ollie Collett on pole, Peter Bove in second, and Richard Rothery in the PRS in third, followed by Bill Cowley in fourth. So Ollie made a good start, with Bill Cowley managed to get himself up into third place. Chris Goff was looking very racy there, going on the inside of Christopher Johnson and Matt Unwin following behind. So it's the mid-pack where the real race is, where we've got Matt Unwin fighting for Class B honours. Chris Goff was using all of his experience to keep Matt at bay. Mark Glover, who was coming back from the back of the field, was also fighting his way through. Matt Unwin trying again round the outside, but Chris Johnson gets a boot in the back from Simon Bolter, who clearly misjudges braking. Matt Unwin was trying every which way to try and get past Chris Goff, but there's just no way through with all these years of experience. Ollie Collett still leading, not comfortable though, with Bill Cowley following close behind. Still side by side, but still no way through for Matt Unwin. Now Mark Glover is right behind them. And Danny Watts will be very happy to have at least got more laps in than the 2 laps he's done previously in testing. Car was going well, but it was overheating. Ollie Collett was coming behind him to lap him fairly soon, and Bill Cowley getting really racy right up behind Ollie. Chris Goff still leading that little group there, but Mark Glover, now having got by, is starting to challenge Chris Goff. But oh no, he's off. He's had a problem with the rear of the car and he's gone off. And Bill Cowley getting even closer. But look at this, here's Simon Bolter. He's making his way past Matt Unwin, and he's done it. And we've got David Watts in front of him as well. David Watts now catching up to Chris Goff, and Matt Unwin squeezing one right down the inside at the hairpin. And who's this? This is Bill Cowley. He's been off the track. Unfortunately, that excursion would eventually result in him retiring. And David Watts, he's following Chris Goff. He's now the man challenging Chris Goff. And Matt Unwin also back in that group, trying to get past David Watts. It looks like he's made the position up. But come to the next lap, David Watts is back in front of Matt Unwin. But he's missed his brake and gone straight into the back of Chris Goff. And Matt Unwin taking no prisoners with the back markers there, taking 2 in one corner. And that's how the race would end, with Ollie Collett taking another win, Peter Bove following in second, and Richard Rothery third, with Bill Rutter impressing in fourth place, and Matt Unwin, the leading Class B driver, beating Simon Bolton and Hugh Davis. For race 2 in the historic 750 Formula, John Village was joined by Christian Pedersen in his Austin 7. And Christian Pedersen did finally get past John Village. Number 42 was Timothy Sage in his Mallory Q2, really pushing on, lots of understeer through the final hairpin at Mallory Park. Ian Grant and Graham Wilson ended up having a really great race-long battle. And somehow, while battling the traffic, John Village has managed to get back in front of Christian Pedersen. And that's how it ended, with John Village taking the win again, followed by Timothy Sage and Christian Pedersen. And so we go to the second and final race of the day for the 750 Formula. Ollie Collett on pole, Rich Rothery on second in the PRS, Peter Bove in third in his Derby, and Bill Cowley in fourth in his Cowley Mark IV. But the real interest is in Class B. All Simon Bolter has to do is finish, and he will take the championship away from Matt Unwin. Let's see what happens. So Bill Cowley's already made it up into second place by the end of the first lap, right on the tail of Ollie Collett, followed closely by Rich Rothery in the PRS and Peter Bove behind. And Matt Unwin seems to be making a lot of noise there from his car. He seems to have had a bit of an impact somewhere, and there's been a crash earlier in the lap that's taken a few of the runners and riders out. That means that Steve Boother has made it up into a very impressive fourth place. That's Bill Cowley there trying to go around the outside of Ollie Collett. That's not going to work, but credit for trying. And Matt Unwin has managed to stay in front of Hugh Davis despite the damage and the diffuser or something scraping along the floor. And there's Bill Smith there as well, and Rod Hill running very, very well in front of Kiskoff. There's still no way through for Bill Cowley. And Hugh Davis has sneaked past Matt Unwin there on that lap. He's had a bit of a lock-up, and Matt Unwin sneaks back through at the hairpin. That's a very good move, opportunistic. Bill Cowley's a bit closer, but I don't think he's going to find a way through there. He's going to have to be a bit braver somewhere else. But that is very close though. He is right on his back. Oh, and Hugh Davis has managed to get in front again. And Matt Unwin's trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work, is it? But it's very close. Hugh was very fair, gave him room. And Bill Cowley again, still struggling to get by. And there's Peter Bove getting by the PRS there of Rich Rothery. And Hugh Davis is still in front. Matt Unwin's going around the outside again. Is he going to make it work? Oh, it looks like he is. And he has. He's made it work. They're still side by side going down into the Devil's Elbow. Can Bill Cowley make it work? Or he's having a good go, but he's got a bit wide and lost grip on the outside. Oh, and Hugh Davis has a massive lock-up. Fortunately, he's far enough behind Matt to avoid a collision. There's Steve Boother still running very well in fourth place. and he's actually being caught by Hugh Davis and Matt chasing. And there's Simon Bolter. He's got a problem. He's still running, but he's running very, very slow. Oh, and the PRS has got a problem and he's had to stop. That'd be very disappointing. He'd actually made his way up into 3rd place. And unfortunately my camera's run out of battery, so back to the phone. And Matt Unwin is still in front of Hugh Davis there. Ollie Collett still being chased by Bill Cowley. And Steve Boother coming by Will Smith there. And, a little bit of an unnecessary clatter there between the two of them. Hugh Davis has managed to get on the back of Matt Unwin again, so he's going to have another go this way. Oh, and he's made it round Matt Unwin through the traffic there. And I think this is coming up to the last lap. It looks like Hugh Davis is still in front. But somehow Matt Unwin, through the devil's elbow in the last corner, manages to sneak by Hugh Davis. And Simon Bolter, unfortunately, because he went round so slowly on those last few laps, has ended up being not classified despite finishing the race, which means that hands the Class B Championship to Matt Unwin. Congratulations, Matt. Commiserations, Simon. That's the last race of the year. We'll see you again next year.